I have two public comment. So when I call your name, if you'll come up and have a seat and state your name and address. Any citizen wishing to speak during public comment may do so after completing the required registration form. In accordance with the Texas Attorney General's opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published final agenda will only be heard by the City Council. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by the City Council. Comments must be courteous and respectful. Accordingly, concerns, complaints, and assertions of character regarding specific individuals, including any citizen, staff member, city board, or commission member, or city council member, shall not be raised in a public forum, but should be addressed separately and privately with the city manager or individual member of the city council. Any person who violates these rules will have their speaking time ended immediately. Any person, including persons in the audience who acts in an inappropriate or disruptive manner, may be asked to leave the city council chambers. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. So when I call your name, once you state your name and address, and then the time will start. When you've got 30 seconds left, the yellow light will go on, and when your time's up, it'll go red. First up, we have Mike Fowler.
My name is Mike Fowler. I live at 108 West Live Oak Street. And the reason I wanted to address the council tonight is there's a lot of division in this city. Really, the people on this dais need to work together and make things happen for Hutto in a good and conscientious manner. I've lived here for 41 years, and we were a small town with not very good facilities, a very small budget, and today we're actually maturing into a very fine city that can be better. The only way we get better, though, is with growth and by having more commercial and light industrial come to this town. And I implore y'all all to work together to keep things like Perfect Game going and to make our community grow and prosper. I don't want to see Hutto regress. I've never wanted to see Hutto in a state of flux, and I think we're approaching that now. I think we have an excellent city manager, and he was hired to do the job of growing Hutto. Let him do his job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Paul Martin.
And just so you know, I don't drink, I just wobble. I got to take a deep breath and relax because I got to take my time. I just want to state some things that I saw. I've been watching the social media, and I'm appalled by what I see and what I've been reading. It's got to stop. Someone wants to recall the city council. That's just negative. It's appalling. We need to support our city government. We need to support our city manager. I've known Otis for 4 years. Do I like some of the stuff he does? It's business. Do I support what he's done? 1,000%. He's brought business. He's a businessman, and he's doing what it takes to be a businessman. In this industry, there's hard things that need to be done, and people need to realize that's business. City Council, looks like you guys are on track to go to Robert's Rules of Order, and I hope you do, because that's how you conduct business. Some of the members here are going after each other and stuff. You got to stop. You got to stop the pettiness. And the people in behind me, you need to stop the Facebook crap, excuse my expression. And you need to get over this little this person did that, or this person did this, and this person needs to do this, or we got a recall. You need to grow up, support your government. You need to vote on the things that you want to pay for. You need to analyze. I had to sit down and do some homework to ask, what do we need money for? And ask, how are we going to pay for them? This stuff that you're looking for, the bonds and stuff, that's a responsibility of us, citizens, not the board. We voted for it. We asked for it to be done. We need to figure out how to pay for it. Now, if it's taxes or car washes, whatever, you guys up there as a city council didn't vote on it by yourself. Otis can't do a darn thing to get it other than run it once it happens. Get smart, people. Support them. Give them suggestions on how to get the money. Quit fighting with them. When are we going to grow up as a city and quit biting on each other? It's about time we come together. Hey, I got a yellow light. Oh, well, I'll end it quickly. People might not like me after this. I don't care. I'm an old man with gray hair. But grow up. We as a city need to really move on. We got a lot to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. That's all the public comments I had. So the next item on the agenda is 5A, consideration of possible action regarding process for engaging in a guest investigation for Place 3 officer of City Council members Mike Snyder for interference with the day-to-day operations, contract and daily affairs for the city, including city charter violations, and take appropriate action to prevent such. With that, what I did is after our meeting, after we had called the investigation, I reached out to a couple of mayors, and there was one name that came up a couple times from several cities that has done, a lawyer that has done an investigation. He's never done anything in Hutto before, so I want to recommend. I would like to kind of have him come forth and kind of introduce himself and kind of talk about how he would do the investigation, and then we can kind of talk about if that's the way we want to go with that third party or how we want to do it. So, Mr. Ross Fisher, if you'll come up and kind of introduce yourself, kind of tell a little bit about yourself, and kind of tell us how you would do the investigation, and kind of give a little bit of your background.
Sure. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Mayor, Council, my name is Ross Fisher. I'm an attorney in this area, both in this area of expertise and also in this geographical area in Central Texas. I've been a lawyer for 20 years, over 20 years, and my career has focused at the intersection of local government law, particularly municipal law and professional ethics. So I've done a lot of this type of work, investigations for other cities and other public entities. I've served as an elected prosecutor, as an in-house city attorney, as a contract city attorney, and as a member of the Texas Ethics Commission, including a year as chairman of the Texas Ethics Commission. I've just spent a couple of years prosecuting lawyers for the state bar as a disciplinary division. So I'm familiar with ethical standards that are out there, and I'm familiar with municipal government. And as a result, I get called on pretty frequently to do contract work for municipalities. Sometimes investigations, ethics investigations, or charter investigations. Other times, often the conflict of interest analyses. So this is what I do. I've never done work in Hutto or for the city of Hutto before. If you were to retain my services, I'm pretty transparent about the way I operate. What I do is identify the applicable standards of conduct that we're talking about. I think based on your agenda language, we're talking about the charter and whether or not a charter violation has occurred. I would ask to have a point of contact within the city staff that's not part of this process, an assistant city manager or someone who can be independent and who's not potentially compromised. And then I determine what documents I would need to review or what employees or officials or witnesses I need to talk to, and then work with staff to arrange that and get that done in an efficient manner with the idea of bringing back to you a report or an analysis that would have my findings, the options as I see them, recommendations to the council as a body, And then also, if somewhere during this process I find areas where maybe your ordinance or your procedures can be improved or beefed up, I'd bring those to your attention and let you determine whether you want to make any changes or improvements. That's pretty much it. I'm happy to answer questions about myself or how I operate.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do think that we need to use a third party that doesn't know anybody or hasn't had any dealings with the city. I think that's the most fair, appropriate use.
I have to agree with that.
How do you control the scope of what you go looking for? Since we haven't gotten a whole lot of what we're looking for, how do we control this isn't a fishing expedition and just you take however much time pulling everything and it gets out of scope or control of what's at fault or potentially at fault here?
That's a great question and an important question. I think by looking at the agenda, it sounds like, and this would be part of, if you were to go forward and engage me, I think we should put that in the engagement letter, and investigating what person and what standard of conduct, right? If it's just the charter, you shouldn't, that's not, I don't see that as free reign to go into all these other things. So I would limit it to that. We'd put it in the engagement letter so we both parties understand what the scope is. If I discovered some other standard of conduct that's outside that initial scope that I thought warranted further investigation, I would come back to you. I mean, the body is the client, and it would be up to you to change that scope and for me to get your direction before going too far afield.
About how long do these usually take if you've done some before? Is it, I guess, really varies on the scope and amount of information and what comes of it, or?
Right. I've had short ones turn into year-long ones, which I don't see that happening. I mean, I think that there's no reason this couldn't be wrapped up, I would think in a month or so. I mean, I don't think anybody benefits from this dragging on.
And then you have the bandwidth to dedicate to do this outside of all your other
I do.
duties? Okay.
Right. No, now's a good time.
Any other questions or? Do we have a motion or do we have a direction or what's the council's wishes?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we engage Mr. Ross Fisher into an investigation with Police 3 Office of City Council Member Mike Snyder for interference with the day-to-day operations, contracts, and daily affairs for the city, including city charter violations, and to advise appropriate action to prevent such.
The only thing it needs to add is that then authorize the mayor to execute the document for the contract.
And authorize the mayor to execute the contract.
All that is just giving the authority to sign the document. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I would like to, with the with the parameters that are already listed, I'd kind of like to at least see, okay, if we're talking a month, or can we do we want kind of an idea of what's going on in 30 days?
Sure. I think that's perfectly fair. If you want to, I have something on September 19th where I'm out of town, but if we want to look out a month and say, we expect to hear from you and either you're done or you tell us why you're not done, I come give you a status report. I think that's a fair thing to do.
Yeah, I'd like a 30-day status at least.
So are you adding that to the motion, or are you just requesting that?
I'm requesting it.
Okay.
Don't make it difficult.
Yeah, don't make it too hard.
I have one. Do we have a budget set for this?
It would be paid out of, probably out of our legal.
Yeah, it would be paid out of the city council. The city council itself does have a budget for items you choose to interact in, depending on what whatever the mayor negotiates. If it is more than that, then Michelle and the finance team will come back to y'all with, if it's outside of that budget line. Michelle, do you know exactly how much they currently have in that budget item?
Currently, I have 25,000.
Okay. So if it costs more than that, then y'all will probably have to amend it to accommodate.
I know it's probably hard to tell right now because you've not done any work, but does $25,000 seem like?
I think that should be sufficient. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to find when I start looking, but yeah, I mean, I would certainly be comfortable operating within that budget without any problem.
So we have a motion and a second. Call for vote.
Mayor Gall,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines,
Aye.
Councilmember Scott Rose,
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon,
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Councilmember Tanner Rose.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. I will follow up with you and we can get the contract worked out and get it signed. So we can
Okay.
get going.
All right. Do you need me to stick around tonight or maybe excused?
I've got your contact information, so I'll contact you tomorrow and
Okay.
we can get.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is consideration of possible action regarding section 3.15 of the City of Hutto Charter. And that was Councilmember Tanner Rose that brought that up, brought that to the agenda.
Yeah, we could table this. I got what I needed on some of my own research, unless anyone else wants to discuss anything. I did some stuff on my own, so I'm fine motioning to table this.
So I have a motion to table this.
I'll second.
Motion by,
So is it to table indefinitely or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless,
so a motion to table indefinitely by Councilmember Tanner Rose. Second by Councilmember Gordon. Any question on the motion? Call for vote.
Councilmember Tanner Rose,
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon,
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Scott Rose,
aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines,
Aye.
Mayor Gall.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next item is 6A, consideration and possible action on a resolution to adopt the Williamson County Emergency Operations Plan.
Mayor, can I? Do you still need to? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Never mind then.
Yeah,
I was going to move it till later, but
come on up.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Michael Shue, Williamson County Office of Emergency Management.
So this is a document that just comes up every year for, you want to just give us kind of the highlight of the document?
Yes, sir. It's every 5 years. It's a state-required planning document. Hutto's been a part of it. High level is that we'll provide any of the emergency management for the city, not linked to the state. So any incident or anything you feel needs help with, we'll be able to gladly do that for you.
Mr. Shue, has there been any significant changes
No, sir.
since the last one?
No.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's just an update
Okay.
in its entirety.
And it
Thank
just
you.
basically just outlines when we call the county, when the chief calls the county in and
Yes, sir. Exactly. For fire, police, help, hazmat, technical rescue.
We work with them all the time. They do a great job. They have all SOPs, SOGs. They have county teams that are stationed throughout the county in times of floods and hazmat situations. And pretty much every fire department, and I would imagine every police department in the area has members on these teams. So,
Yes, sir.
You guys do a wonderful job of keeping folks updated too.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the resolution to accept the Williamson County Emergency Operations Plan.
Second.
so motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hines, second by Councilmember Martinez. Any other question or discussion? Call for vote.
Councilmember Scott Rose,
aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines,
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Mayor Gall,
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon,
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Councilmember Tanner Rose.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is 6B, consider and approve a contractual obligation 380 agreement to permit city hotel occupancy tax proceeds and other funds or assets to be pledged and paid to support obligations issued or incurred for economic development projects within the city.
Mayor and council, if I could briefly address this, the corporation, your wholly owned corporation, approved this earlier. This is a matter to give you an option to use the current hotel occupancy tax to pledge for future activities in connection with Perfect Games. What we have is the statute that authorizes you to pledge that tax has been changed, and effective September 1 of this year, there is a repeal of some language that covers Hutto. We don't know why they did this, but the legislature chose to do it in a multi-page statute. So it has a provision that if you pass this agreement before September 1, you may use those funds to pledge against future bonds or other obligations issued in connection with the Perfect Games development. But the provision is also that it will not be effective until you finally approve it. So if you change your mind a month, weeks from now, you don't have to do this. This just simply reserves the right for you to do this if you prefer to do it. So that's the reason in bringing it to you on kind of in advance on short notice, to give you the option as one of the financing tools to use when you decide how you're going to do the financing of Perfect Games. I'd be happy to answer questions.
So does this include both the state's portion of the sales tax off of the property and the hotel occupancy tax?
Even though that is an option to be used, this specifically is developed to go to your local hotel occupancy tax and allow it to be used. You still have the option to use the sales tax, the state hotel occupancy tax, and other financing sources. This is really directed to assure you maintain this option to use your own tax to pledge against bonds if you choose to do that.
So is this all of our hotel occupancy tax, or is this just the hotel for, or hotels on the project expansion
I have
stuff?
the same question.
This is directed to hotels that would be developed within the project, is what this particular part
So we
is.
wouldn't be touching the other fund from the rest of the city?
No.
No, it's just on the property itself. I think the language even talks about it has to be 1,000 feet from the convention center, and so there's some other parameters around
Okay.
it.
And how many hotels do we have slated at the Perfect Games site?
Currently today, in the site plan I saw today, it's 7 hotels.
So that's a good chunk of funds there.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve a contractual obligation of 380 agreement to permit city hotel occupancy tax proceeds and other funds or assets to be pledged and paid to support obligations issued or incurred for economic development projects within the city.
Second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hines, second by Councilmember Gordon. Any question on the motion?
I do have a legal question for Mr. Bingham. Is the language in our agenda appropriate for what we're trying to do, since it doesn't state the project expansion site or any of that? Do we need to change any of that?
It is made to give you the right to use this particular tax in a way that's permitted by the statute. And when you look at the statute, there are limited ways you can use it for new development and within a certain distance of a convention center and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So you don't need to say it goes to project expansion, because the statute, the state law is going to control.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Yes,
we're
sir.
covered. Thank you.
Call for vote.
Mayor Gall,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott Rose.
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider.
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Councilmember Tanner Rose.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is 7A, consideration possible action to adopt the Robert's Rules of Order as the parliamentary rules for the city of Hutto.
Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt Robert's Rule of Order, current edition, as the parliamentary rules for the city of Hutto. And what I mean by current edition is that if we go to the next edition, we also go to the next edition.
Second.
So a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hines, a second by Councilmember Scott Rose. Any question or discussion?
Are we still going to do or possibly do a workshop training on this for us and the boards and commissions at some point down the road?
Yeah, I would highly recommend now that we, if this passes, we adopt it, that we have someone come in and do a training.
And then can someone provide what the latest edition is to us?
Yes.
If we adopt it, yeah.
If we adopted the latest edition as the 11th edition, I've asked Lacey to hand out some cheat sheets
There you
for
go.
everybody, as you would. And just so everybody knows, by law, we do follow Robert's Rule of Order because it does not state anything else in our charter other than the way our parliamentary rules will be set by ordinance by city council, provided that we give citizens time to speak. I just want to put this in there so that we have a defined parliamentary set of rules that I think would work for us and help keep our meetings on point.
No, I agree.
When I was in the TML new council orientation, we did training on Robert's Rules of Order. Did they have that this year? at
Yeah,
TML?
the one that Councilman Snyder and I went to had, it wasn't long, but it was, I don't remember, an hour or so.
But I'd like to do it where we do a work session.
like
I'd do a work session training where we could actually walk through it.
Well, it's been a year since
we-
we've
and I-
had that information.
Yeah.
Since I've had that information.
And I think I think we should have at least the chair and vice chair of all our boards and commissions, but invite all the boards and commissions, but at least make sure the chairs are there so that if we're going to adopt it, then I think our boards and chairs should try to follow it also.
And when you get into it, it's not hard.
Oh, it's not. It's just,
Once you learn it, it's easy, and then, once you get comfortable with it, you don't even really know that you're using it. So.
so we have a motion and a second.
Can we, as part of this, just set a date on no later than when we want to get this training done? I would just kind of not let it languish, but maybe draw a line in the sand and say
Then
6 months, 3 months, I don't know what.
let's say
30
by
days.
November 15th.
Yeah.
How's that? Because, I mean, it gives us plenty of time, and
Yes, through the
I
budget
believe,
process.
talking with the city secretary, she said she was interested in going to a class and possibly being the parliamentarian, which we would need. She's interested in that. I think that would work well.
Yeah, that would help me to have a parliamentarian to help me walk through it.
Yeah, then if we need to modify it, at least we'll have something in the sand to drive towards. And then if we need to change the date, we can always, depending on what the training times are and getting someone here, we can adjust that if we need to. But at least it keeps it on our radar.
So I have a motion and a second. So let's call the vote.
Mayor Gall.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott Rose.
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider.
Aye.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Councilmember Tanner Rose.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. With that, we have nothing else on our agenda. Therefore, I will adjourn this meeting at 6:49 p.m.
Are we not doing the executive session?